Hello, everybody. Welcome to All Villa, No Filler, a podcast all about Aston Villa, the world's greatest football team. Friday night, so I don't know how many people are going to tune in. I've never really done a Friday night live before, so this is almost a test to see kind of whether it generates much viewing or anything like that. But we'll see. Probably just zero, or maybe my mom and dad might tune in for about 5 minutes. But anyway, Villa play Bournemouth tomorrow. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Also, some breaking news that Rory Wilson, seemingly he actually exists, is going to Sturm Graz as well. I'll talk about that in a sec. But firstly, Jacob Tanswell. I did an interview with Jacob Tanswell of The Athletic, the Aston Villa report for them. One of the top journalists going, one of the best football journalists around, and really enjoyed that interview. He's a really great speaker. He has great insight upon Aston Villa, so please do go check that out if you haven't had a look at it yet. And as I always say at the start of things, please subscribe. So anyway, Bournemouth. Can Aston Villa get back to winning ways? Well, Unai Emery does have a pretty good record against Bournemouth. Yeah, well, Andoni Iraola particularly. I don't think we've lost to Andoni Iraola's Bournemouth, and this will be now the 6th time we will have played them. We played them earlier this season, of course, at Villa Park and smashed them 4-0. This time around as well, they do have quite a few injuries. Worth just pointing that out as well. Justin Kluivert, Marcus Tavernier, Ben Gannon-Doak, Tyler Adams, and David Brooks. That's 5 big names that they have missing from their team there. So, look, that's an advantage to Aston Villa. But that said, we, of course, have our own injuries as well, don't we, in centre midfield. So, well, what's Bournemouth's form like? Okay, the Bournemouth-Tottenham score there is slightly blocked out by the graphic, but they lost 3-2 at home to Arsenal. Then they beat Tottenham 3-2 at home the week after. Then they drew 3-3 with Newcastle away and lost on penalties in the FA Cup. Then they had a sort of a calmer 1-1 draw away at Brighton. Then another 3-2 at home, this time coming out on the right end of the result with a 3-2 win against Liverpool, and then 2-0 away at Wolves. So they're coming off the back of a bit of an unbeaten run, haven't lost in 5. Last loss was obviously Arsenal at home, where they were pretty outclassed, I think, despite the 3-2 scoreline. But the Tottenham and Liverpool results, both 3-2, both saw winners in the last second, essentially. Antoine Semenyo before he went off to Manchester City at Tottenham. And then, of course, against Liverpool as well, last kick of the game. And worth mentioning, that late goal against Liverpool came from one of their long throws. And Bournemouth are a team who like to be very direct. They press harder, faster, strong, is the way I always describe them. They press really hard. They're very, very strong. And then, lots of long throws, set pieces. They're happy to do long balls. So Aston Villa are going to be in for an aerial game tomorrow, and a very physical one at that. Now, if you listen to the Jacob Tanswell interview where I talked to him, Bournemouth, a club he obviously knows very, very well. Something he said is that, if you think of Villa last season at Bournemouth, we actually ceded lots and lots of possession to them. I think we only had about 30%, something like that, and allowed Bournemouth to come onto us. And that makes a lot of sense because Bournemouth, what they want to do, they're chaos merchants. And I think they've arguably led the way for where the Premier League has gone in the last year, in that the Premier League in the last year or two has become much more chaotic rather than systems and controls. I mean, obviously, clubs have systems and they do try to control, but it's harder to do it now because it feels like the Premier League's become a lot more man-to-man, which is what, Bielsa did at Leeds. It's what he did at Bilbao at Athletic when I remember Athletic Bilbao, when I remember him managing them. I remember him unsettling Pep Guardiola's Barcelona, and very few clubs could do that by doing that exact approach. Iraola played for Bielsa at Athletic, and so that obviously is something that he's taken on in his managerial career now. And Bournemouth have arguably been at the forefront of this sort of chaos that we're seeing in the Premier League, and this physicality and direct aerial approach. And but Villa have coped with it pretty well against Iraola. And last season when we went there, we won 1-0 when we ceded possession. Now, if we look at the squads tomorrow potentially, so yes, I think if you were to put a bet on who starts more often for Aston Villa than not, you would say it's going to be Pau Torres and Ian Maatson at left back and at left centre back. I'm just going to put out a cheeky little bet tomorrow and wonder whether, because we have 3 games in a week coming now, we've got Bournemouth tomorrow, which is going to be a big, hard, physical bastard of a game. Then at midweek we've got Brighton at home again, another very tough game, and then 3 days later we've got Newcastle at home in the FA Cup. I wonder whether Unai Emery might be tempted to mix it up a little tomorrow at Bournemouth and maybe go with the players who started last season in Tyrone Mings and Luca Dean. And if you think about Villa at the tail end of last season, when Villa went on that really, really great run from about early February right through to the end of the season, Tyrone Mings was one of the key players in that run. And Villa kind of did what Arne Slot has done at Liverpool in recent weeks, where he just could not stop conceding goals, right? So Slot's gone to a bit more of a slightly more boring, slightly more defensive approach. And Villa did exactly the same last season. Mings came in ahead of Pau Torres and we were quite defensive, really. And then we ended up winning lots of games 1-0, 2-0. We weren't like the most, there weren't the most goals in our games. And I wonder whether we might try and repeat that tomorrow. Just be a bit more physical, sit back, and allow Bournemouth to have a lot of the ball. But the thing is with Bournemouth is that whilst they're so hard pressing and physical, what Bournemouth want you to do is they want you to open up and they want you to go at them. And that's what's going to lead to these 3-2s that they've seen with Liverpool, Arsenal and Tottenham. Clearly, those teams have gone at Bournemouth. Villa tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised if we do a bit of an Emery game. A little bit, we sit back, allow them onto us, let them just come up against a wall which they struggle to break down. And I've actually gone with Tammy Abraham up front because I wonder whether tomorrow one of our main passes that we're going to do throughout the game is this. Just a straightforward, but break that Bournemouth, harder, faster, stronger press and just go long into Tammy Abraham. And then if Villa sit back, have Tyrone Mings being that bully boy at the back with Evan Ilson and, Amadou Onana sticking close to Eli Krupi, who's a fantastic player, by the way. If those sort of physical juggernauts can just, constrict the space for both of them to work in, get a grip on them, then suddenly Bournemouth are probably going to be relying on long throws and set pieces into the box to really create much against Aston Villa. And obviously, once, say the ball goes out of play, it's a goal kick, they are going to want us to play out to a Pau Torres. They're going to want Pau Torres to have the ball and play it around the back and then try and work his way out the pitch because they'll want to force us into a mistake and then from there, profit from it. Instead, tomorrow, maybe we do what we did at Newcastle the other week. Maybe we do what we did against Manchester United at home when both of those teams pressed us really high. Maybe we just keep going long. Just keep going long. And aiming for Tammy Abraham. And then what we'll need around him are players who are going to, potentially win that second ball. Tammy last week against Brentford, I think Villa again went very direct compared to usual against Brentford. And Tammy won a fair few headers. So, I just wonder if it's something we might see tomorrow. I wonder if Aston Villa are going to be very direct in that first 60 minutes at least. And you have Tammy sticking close to James Hill or Marcos Senesi. And James Hill, he's not a player who's got tons of experience in the Premier League. He's about 24, 25. He only really I think he's played 14 this season, I think, and he only played about the same number last season. So he's not tons of experience. He's obviously a good player because if you're starting for Bournemouth, you're clearly a good player. But I just wonder whether that is something that Villa are going to do and that, Tammy's going to basically marshal it up front tomorrow, doing all the ugly stuff, holding it up, trying to, when Villa, manage to get the ball into feet, trying to hold it up and then bring other players into play because who knows, if Bournemouth have pressed really high and Villa have managed to break out without going long, well, then suddenly that creates quite a lot of space, doesn't it? And, Trufair is a player who likes to get forward. He's, down the left-hand side working with Amin Adli, he's a player who's going to be, looking to create quite a lot down that side because he's that left back who likes to get forward, and Alex Scott as well, somebody who likes to sort of invert from that right-hand side. But so if Truffeur's coming back, obviously that means that whoever's on the right, and I've actually gone for Leon Bailey tomorrow. I think he's shown enough in 2 games that he's worth a start. But maybe he goes with Sancho because Sancho has done his defensive duties really well in recent weeks. And then Leon Bailey can come on in that final 30 minutes when maybe Bournemouth have tied a little bit. But Bailey, whoever it is, they just have to keep tracking Truffeur. But if Villa do manage to get out beyond that high press that Bournemouth are going to be doing, well, then that's loads of space. And if we have Tammy Abraham, who's really good at holding the ball up, if we can get the ball into his feet and he manages to lay it off to a Rodgers or a Bailey, suddenly Villa then, we're the ones who are the chaos merchants. We're the ones who create a lot of problems for Bournemouth. So I just wonder whether that's what Villa will do, whether we'll go big, physical, nasty, sit back, have Tyrone Mings and Luca Dean in there, and Mings as well, because he's that more physical player, a bit taller. He's somebody that when Bournemouth go for them long throws, he's probably somebody you'd bet on to head the ball away a bit more than, say, Pau Torres. And Luca Dean, just to balance the minutes up with Ian Maatsen, given the volume of games we're going to be having. And I would imagine Maatsen and Pau Torres are going to start against Brighton because we will be the team with the impetus. We'll be the team looking to start on the front foot in midweek at home. Now, of course, Ollie could start, and Ollie could do exactly what I just described in the Tammy Abraham role. But I just wonder, because Ollie has that tweak, that hamstring tweak, it's not something you want to risk, particularly when you're going to be playing a lot of football in the next week. So I just wonder whether Villa might just go with Tammy Abraham as the safer option. And then let's say we get to the last 20 minutes. Let's say Bournemouth are tied out. Imagine it'd be like Ollie Watkins coming on against Chelsea. You got a player who's fit, firing, ready to go. And that is a nightmare then for Bournemouth to deal with, because you've got a top-class striker who's just come on for the final 30 minutes. I don't think that's a bad idea at all, to be honest. Hopefully Onana's fit. I think having him would be big, and I think he'd be a big... he played brilliantly, partnering Boubacar Kamara in that double pivot last season at Bournemouth. He was absolutely brilliant. And if he can just come back and deal with Eli Krupi, because Krupi, what a talent he is, 19 years of age, he has been absolutely fantastic this season. He really has. I think he's got 8 goals in the league. First time in the Premier League. That man is a star in the making. And if Aston Villa get Champions League next, this summer, I dare say that's somebody that might be of interest. But look, this guy's special. He is. And the goals he scored, the Wolves goal he scored, the goal he got against Arsenal, another one against Tottenham, all of them absolutely top-class goals. And, if you look at his recent form, he's got 3 and 5. He got one against Arsenal, Tottenham and Wolves. He's a special player. And another player as well, he's hit form. He had a really bad start to the season, but he got his goal against Manchester United. And since then, he started to come back into it. 3 and 5 for Evan Nilsson as well. And Evan Nilsson as well, a player who, made us pay a price when he scored against us in the 95th minute, was it? Equaliser at Villa Park last season from a set piece. He scored against Arsenal, Tottenham, and also against Liverpool. So, yeah, they've got 2 players who are in real form. They do up top. But I do think if we just have that, if we go into it just being quite defensively solid, we sit back, we cede possession to them, then Aston Villa on the counter, when we break out, we are arguably the best team in the Premier League at it. And I would say that the way Bournemouth play, it's so intense. They don't have the deepest bench because a lot of the best players are injured. So if we can get through that first 30 minutes without conceding a goal, if we can then work our way into the 60th minute, Bournemouth will naturally start to tire a little bit. And Aston Villa, I would argue, probably have the deeper bench to do things. You could have, let's say, Bailey comes on, Sancho comes on. You've got Ollie Watkins can come on. Ross Barkley is back as well. He's another player who could come on. Ian Maatsen as a left back. Pau Torres as an attacking defensive option as well. Obviously, maybe Harvey Elliott as well, whether he's potentially available or not. So Villa have that depth. So maybe just a bit similar to Newcastle. Bypass that press by going long. Tammy Abraham's a perfect player for that. Get through to that hour mark without conceding. particularly that first 20-minute mark without conceding. No silly mistakes at the back. Don't even need to try and play it out at the back. Just go long if you have to. And once you get to the hour mark, then the subs are the ones who can make all the difference. But yeah, I mean, Bournemouth, a tremendous. Iraola is a really good coach. I have question marks about how sustainable his approach is. I think it's very, very physical and demanding, and asks a lot of the players. But top coach, and Bournemouth are going to make it really, really difficult. But Aston Villa, look, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, they all won. I dare say one or two of them are going to win again this weekend as well. Chelsea particularly look like they have quite a nice run this month. They're going to come at us. We've got to get back to winning ways quickly, but we've shown we can beat Iraola multiple times before. We've shown we can win at Bournemouth multiple times before. So bring it on. I'm excited. But yeah, that's my starting lineup tomorrow. I think that I'm not saying this is going to be it. I could be absolutely wildly wrong here. And maybe Onana's muscle injury isn't right. Bogart has to start. Maybe he goes with Pau Torres and Maatsen, and that's just what he wants to do. But I'm just going for a cheeky bet that we see Mings and Dean tomorrow, alongside Concert, Cash, and Martinez. Luis Onana, if he's fit, Buendia, Rodgers, Bailey, and Tammy, whilst being very open to the fact that it could also be Sancho and Watkins. Of course it could. So, yeah, there we go. Just get some comments up. It's going to be a quick one tonight. I can see there's not loads of viewing this, so Friday night doesn't seem like the peak hour. But if you're here and you don't subscribe to the show, please click subscribe. And if you're here as well, you like it, please like as well. Just subscribe on YouTube. Can't express enough how thankful I am for that. And if you like it as well, that helps, helps us grow. And leave a comment as well. Simon Fogarty, let's go Villa. I'm hoping for something like Newcastle away. Exactly the same. Yes, that's kind of what I described, really. Bournemouth seemed like they got more about them in an attacking sense. They certainly are less exhausted than what Newcastle are. Yeah, they probably do, actually. Yeah, Evan Nilsson and Kruppi are probably a little bit ahead of where Newcastle's attackers are right now. However, I do believe we can go there and see a reaction from Brentford. Absolutely. I'm quietly feeling good about tomorrow, even though we lost at Brentford. I just feel like we might bounce back. WEL99, good to see you, mate. Hi, Frankie. Don't know why, but I have a strange feeling tomorrow's going to be another struggle. Hope I'm proved wrong, UTV. It's going to be physically demanding. It's going to be very, very difficult. It always is against Iraola's Bournemouth, and it always is at Bournemouth. They're a really good side. Semenyo's gone now, but they've bounced back really well from that. They haven't the unbeaten run since then. A couple of really good wins as well. I dare say the thing that worries me the most tomorrow are those long throws, set pieces. That's what worries me the most. I think if we don't, if we sort of sit back and give them possession, I'm quite confident we can deal with that. Just don't make silly mistakes, basically. Even though Duncan Kilbert, great to see you, mate. Duncan Kilbert says, Tammy to start tomorrow for me. Agreed. I'd go with Tammy tomorrow. I think primarily because I think the style will suit him, if we're going more direct. But also, Watkins coming on for half an hour would be brilliant. But also, Watkins with that potential injury and the volume of games we've got this week, very, very intense games. You got to balance up the minutes. Richard Edwards, hi Frankie, hope everything is going well. Great to see you, mate. Top man. Been a friend of the show for a long old time. A Villa fan 7, Kruppi is a player that needs to be stopped tomorrow. I'd risk benching Power just because of strength-wise. Yeah, same here. I agree with all of that. Yeah. I'd start Mings. Yeah, same. I feel like this is a game for Mings tomorrow. Richard Edwards, I'll have to watch the video later. Got to get ready for a party. Yeah, that's Friday night for you. But if you're watching later, please leave a comment and I'll get back to it. My side, Martinez, Dean, Torres, Concert, Cash, Onana, Luis, Sancho, Buendia, Rodgers, Tammy. Yeah, similar. You've gone with Sancho and Powell to start. That could easily happen as well. Why not? I mean, they're tremendous players for it. Well, Powell's been a tremendous player. Sancho's shown signs. And Sancho, I think, defensively has been good for Villa. So, yeah, why not? Black Country Villain, great to see you as always, mate. Definitely want Tammy to start. Yeah, same. I don't want to risk Ollie's injury. So I think it makes sense not to risk Ollie's injury and to go direct to Tammy Abraham. Nickelodeon. I used to watch Nickelodeon all the time when I grew up. Would you take a draw tomorrow? After all, the doom and gloom win would be brilliant. But I think if you get a draw at Bournemouth, you have to take it. given the fact they've just beaten Liverpool, they've pushed Arsenal all the way, and they've beaten Tottenham in recent weeks. I think you probably would take a draw. It's fine. I think for me, it's just that I just want Villa to win. I just want us to get back to winning ways immediately. And I think after what happened against Newcastle, I think we should go into this with a lot of confidence so we can go and beat anyone anywhere. And we beat them last season at Bournemouth. Go for it again. Anyway, short and sweet. Let me know what you think. Leave some comments and please subscribe. Please like. But until next time, everybody, come on, Villa. Let's get that win. Up the mighty Villa.